Koshka to Veins is gonna get melted.
Do I think mobile esports is a phase? No, absolutely not.
And Hack just don't understand what happens.
Welcome to another episode of the Halcyon Report. I'm your host, beerad, and this week I'm joined by Jason and SuiJeneris. Welcome, guys.
Glad to be here.
Thanks for having me. Super stoked about it.
Jason, it's great to have you here. You're a new coach for Hammers, and I know we're going to dive deep into basically their rise over the last couple of weeks. So I think you'll have some good insight into how they're doing and why their performance is shining now. But I think the first topic to talk about this week is it was week 1 of Vainglory8, and this was the first time we're seeing these teams play on update 2.3. What are we seeing this week? We're seeing some new picks, some different meta shifts a little bit. SuiJeneris, you were on the desk. You've talked in depth about this probably already, but love to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, so it shifted slightly. It was a lot of Lyra Adagio bans or first picks, and now the priority has kind of shifted. Lyra still being banned. Adagio actually fell off the tier 1 ban pick portion. So Glaive and Lance are actually pretty high priorities, mainly because of their ability to make plays and their flexibility as picks. You know, with Glaive especially being able to support or be played as a jungle carry. We also have Lyra, Kestrel, Samuel, Gwen, Koshka are all still top picks. Love seeing a lot of Taka in there as well. However, Gwen is a huge part of the meta. Some of it being attributed to Mr. Druid himself from EA. He started actually the Tension Bow build, which I wasn't a big fan of last patch, but with the Tension Bow buff, it makes a lot of sense this patch. And you can see it being played a lot. And it's great to see Grumpjaw too. Grumpjaw is actually very strong. He to me, he's similar to Lance when Lance first came out. A lot of high loss rates with Lance when he first came out, until teams figured him out and saw that he is actually meta and very strong. And I think Grumpjaw is in the same spot based on his stats, his base ratios, and all of his abilities. And his entire kit in general is very good. He's just flexible as a support, jungler, weapon, or crystal. And he's very strong if played correctly. So that's pretty much how the meta is kind of weighing out here.
Yeah, I was going to ask about Gwen and why we're seeing her. So it's strictly because of this Tension Bow Druid kind of thing. I've seen players not building the Tension Bow and some going for the Sorrow Blade first. Is that as effective?
Yeah, Sorrow Blade is more effective if you're facing, a warrior comp like an Alpha, Rona, Cruel, etc. Then you do not want to build Tension Bow. Tension Bow is normally good into double squishy, which is what a lot of people play. It's normally like a Vox and Sammy or something composition. So Tension Bow works really well for those people. Kestrel as well. She has very low base health. So that's why you're seeing a lot of Tension Bow. But if you're facing an Alpha and like a tanky front line, you do not want to build Tension Bow. It's better to just get Sword Blade, Breaking Point as your item. And also she has her Skedaddle, which can get her out of a silence, right? Can get her out of Samuel's sleep. Can get her out of stuns, etc. That's what makes her kit so good. On top of that, she also has a ultimate as a stun. So she actually has a pretty solid kit overall, and that's why she's being played so much.
Jason, are you kind of seeing the same thing? What are you kind of telling your guys here?
I do a lot of research on watching Druid, and whoever's streaming, I'm going to be watching and learning. And Tension Bow Gwen definitely has a certain, I think like the new hot word to say is like the win condition for Gwen is you got to get your Tension Bow as soon as possible, and you just got to delete. And it's like a early game aggressive, and you're seeing I believe a lot of Tension Bow Gwen now is because of that burst damage. If you can snowball the early game with Gwen and catch the enemy team off guard with it, you have a really high success chance of coming in at the end on top. And you see Gwen, I feel like, more often because of that buff with Tension Bow, and if you know, like early game Ringo, she's stronger. She can out trade him. Her perk is based off of her not attacking, and Ringo's is last hitting. So if it comes, becomes that 1v1 situation early game, Gwen's always going to come off top. And also, Vox is a very good early game hero. So yeah, definitely, we have paid attention to Gwen. But I feel like with Gwen, if you don't do those certain things in the beginning, it's going to be a tough time for you versus a late game Vox or even a Kestrel, because I mean, we believe a Kestrel can out trade ultimately with a Gwen. So for us, I think we obviously can use Gwen, but for Hammers, it's not like a necessity. It's not a top priority pick.
Oh. Well, it's really neat to see how the meta shapes up and changes just from these small tweaks. And at first, it didn't seem like it was going to be a big deal, but we started to see like the Grump Jaws and things keep coming in here. And we always, I think, rag on EU a little bit here. And I hate to bring this up every time, but even on the desk, it was talked about how EU is maybe like a week or a couple weeks behind in these meta shifts, these changes. They're picking up heroes that were strong. Maybe NA was playing last week or a couple weeks ago. SuiJeneris, are we seeing this still, or what could we give some advice to EU to kind of up their game, especially coming into these Unified Live Championships in about a month?
I think they need to watch NA. I mean, they're starting to use Flicker now, but they should definitely watch NA and see what the meta is. A lot of early game aggression, a lot of Glaive, Koshka, Ringo combos, etc. And the funny thing is, a lot of teams haven't tried this, but Gwen actually was countered by Ringo, and she always has been. If Ringo builds Tension Bow versus Gwen, Ringo Tension Bow actually counters Gwen Tension Bow, surprisingly, but a lot of teams have not tried that. Gwen has 5.3 range, Ringo has 6, and he has faster innate attack speed. So actually, he can out-trade her early as long as he has that Tension Bow proc as well, and he procs the crit on her. So a lot of people need to try different things, need to kind of upset the meta, and that's something that I'm waiting to see people, switch up the meta, because a lot of people are running Gwen Tension Bow, but people don't realize that range counters Gwen really hard. So that's something that I would love to see coming up next weekend with all people playing Gwen. I want to see someone play Ringo Tension Bow, because Ringo Tension was actually very strong. It used to be super strong back in the early days of Vainglory, and no one has really been trying that out. And I can't wait until I see a team use it, and then boom, counters that Gwen composition really hard. Because every meta, guys, has a counter, and people just need to find what the counter is or do the analysis and research to determine what counters work.
Jason, did you end up watching a lot of EU? Any thoughts on their scene or how they can maybe up or change their game?
With EU, I feel like they have progressed so much from the beginning, and for NA people to overlook them and laugh at them, that's a huge mistake. With EU, you see melee laners like Rona, and I feel like that's really interesting and creative, just because with NA you don't tend to see a melee really emphasize heavily in lane, especially. So I do watch EU. I have seen the Risen of G2. My Team Secret they're multi-talented. So I do my research still. I mean, like I said, it's a shame that we think that, but at the same time, they are catching up significantly, and we definitely need. I mean, yeah, they're a little bit behind, but not by much. So I am keeping a close watch on EU teams, just because when we could go to the Unified Live Championships, we are going to face these EU teams eventually. So always watching and always learning. They do bring a different dynamic in NA in certain things. So like I said, it's always interesting to watch.
Yeah, I don't want to feel like we're ragging on them. Like, they should have their own meta and scene that's different, right? They don't have to copy.
Yeah, but what's interesting with Fnatic, you can tell that the bootcamp made huge progress with them. But the reason why they became so dominant is because they did their research. They actually ran EA meta, which was like Lyra, Samuel, Gwen. Fnatic was like one of the only top EU teams prioritizing Gwen a lot. On top of that, they also played Flicker. The only other team that played Flicker was Fluffy Chickens, which is a challenger team that made it in. But they actually took the Flicker composition and then did double range with it, which worked for the final match, but didn't work one of the other matches. However, it's a great strategy that they brought the Ringo Adagio EU meta and it adapted it with like a Flicker support, which is something that EA and NA runs a lot. But you see that they have taken parts of the EA and NA meta and incorporated it into their EU meta, and that's how they have become so successful, because the meta in NA and EA is stronger clearly than EU right now. So if EU comes up with something innovative like Fnatic did, then maybe that might work at Worlds. But for now, based on what I'm seeing and watching like every single EU VOD and Challenger VOD, their meta is very slow paced and passive, and they do not prioritize the stronger heroes that are currently in the meta right now, like Koshka, etc. If you give an NA team Koshka and they go against an EU team, it's not a matter of like, you know, like not taking EU seriously. It's just that we know how strong the meta is and why Koshka works so well in NA, and that's something that would be interesting to see, you know, in Worlds, once the early game aggressive compositions face the EU passive compositions like we saw last time at World. So very looking forward to see EU innovate like Fnatic did. I think they've never been stronger since last season, and EU is looking very, very good coming into this season for sure.
And then transitioning here into the NA side, we had the challenge battles the previous week. So this first week we got to see Tribe Gaming face Tempo Storm. So that was formerly Liberation X versus 101. And this was really fun to see these challenger teams have to like prove themselves and face off here in the Vainglory8. Did these teams match up? Did they stand up? Did they look like Vainglory8 quality? Jason, I'm sure you're keeping an eye on these teams because the underdogs, everyone loves an underdog story, so you gotta keep an eye on these guys.
No, for sure, and much respect to them. They've been in competitive as far as they all have big names, and especially with Tribe, you know, they're proven champions. So I don't take them lightly. They obviously have done pretty well in the beginning. I know the lower teams right now are all scrambling to get those points so they can make Unified Live Championship. So definitely the stakes are high for everybody involved in Evil 8. You know, us, everybody, like positioning at this point is very important. So all these challenger teams that have made it to the V8, I mean, like I said, we're not taking them lightly at all, and they have proven that they can win games and have caught people off guard. So we're going to respect them, and we are going to prepare like them, like every other team.
SuiJeneris, same thoughts. So I'm sure you're watching these, especially for the Immortals side as well. Like,
yeah,
you got to know what they're doing.
I play with a lot of the players, actually. You know, Pawn, Selena, Hyde, etc. I know them very well in the scene. We still even play, like, you know, during the week, unranked matches, etc. So Tribe and Tempo are extremely strong. Tribe is arguably stronger in the early game. You saw them win in 2 critical games against Tempo Storm. They won the early game and literally threw. So I talked to Pawn later. I'm like, dude, you guys just completely threw that match and overextended, etc. So it's pretty funny. And Tempo Storm arguably is better at the late game team fights. They have such strong synergy and focus in the late game. And I think they're more rounded off in terms of Toph, Selena, and Hyde being a more balanced and skill high team. And I think Tribe has a very strong early aggressive, because Status and Pawn and E36 love to play early game and early aggression. So I think they're better at rotations and the early game aggression, and that's why they beat Tempo in the early game. But they're going to do extremely well against the rest of the VG8 teams. Both teams have upped the competition significantly in NA, and this is probably the strongest 8 NA teams we have ever seen in competitive. And it's thanks to these challenger teams that came in here, and all these teams are extremely strong and well versed in terms of their strategies and team synergy, etc.
Yeah, I think that team synergy for Temple Storm is spot on. Like watching them play, like they just all seem like they're on the same page and know where they need to be at each moment, especially if it's not going their way or when it is going their way. Very fun to see. A team that's looking really strong these last couple weeks is Hammers. Jason, this is a perfect reason to have you here, especially with Hammers taking the first place this past week. But yeah, what's up with Hammers now? What's changed? What are you telling these guys?
I'm not going to tell you all my secrets, but I'll go into a little bit. So, I've always been behind the scenes with Vainglory since the beginning. My dream was never to be a pro player. I know SuiJeneris has accomplished a lot as a professional. Even Fuji has. So that transition to them, for them, was a lot easier because one, they're proven winners. They actually played at the highest level that has to offer, and I've always, like I said, I've always been in the background, but I'm a student of the game. I watch SuiJeneris streams, I watch Xenotech streams. I learn from the best, and I've put in my time in solo queue ranked, and I know the frustrations, I know the ups and downs of just trying to win and succeed. And my background is I've always been in competitive sports, and I played high school basketball, college basketball, and recently I started volunteering coaching basketball and flag football, and that's where I felt like I could do just that feeling to help kids accomplish something that they're working towards really got to me and really called to me. So I was with Hammers in their guild, doing small things for them left and right, and just one thing led to another, and I got this opportunity to coach them. And the first thing that I told starting Tiggs and Chicken was that on paper, individually, you guys are the most talented people, in NA for sure. Any team would be lucky to have you guys, but that doesn't always translate into success. And you guys saw that in the very first week when I wasn't their coach. Amazing talents, but they didn't put it together. There was kind of a dysfunction where you saw it was just gelling, and they brought me in to fix that. So my first goal was, every person has a why. Why do they do this? What's their, why do you wake up every morning? And that was my first job, is to figure out why they are doing this. What are their goals? What are their dreams? What are their aspirations? And I have had a lot of experiences as far as failing, succeeding, and just telling them that if we do this together, if you guys listen to me and if you follow my lead, I promise you that good things will happen. And we need to communicate as a team. We can't play as individuals. Individuals can
only take you so far, but they don't win championships. So that's kind of the mindset that I brought in. And, coaching in person is so much different than coaching remotely. Coaching, when I was coaching basketball, I could see the effort. I could see that whatever I was saying was reaching to them. But, doing everything over Discord or Skype or chat, I don't see that. Am I really, making a difference in these kids' lives? Am I reaching them? That was, that's the number one objective as a coach, is find that reason, plant the seed, pamper it every day, watch it grow, and kind of go from there. And Tiggs starting all over, they
really, and Chicken, they took that to heart. And now that you see that we are a cohesive unit, I know that we're on a lot of, everyone's paying attention to us now. So I couldn't ask for a better team, better players, better situation. I'm thankful every day. And I think they just needed that, just that person that believes in them, and then now they truly believe in themselves, and now you're seeing in that play that confidence. The decision making by Tiggs is, we all say one voice, one team, and his voice is the clear leadership, and we, in Tiggs we trust, basically.
Yeah, it seems like the confidence in you for them has to be great now, especially winning first place last week.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Like I said, the best feeling in the world to me is when you help the people that you're coaching accomplish what they're setting out to do. And obviously we're not done. We're going. We still have a couple weeks left until Unified Championships, and like I said, it's just a beautiful thing that we're all situated in right now.
And Sujay, have you seen this change in them from this last week to this past week? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Able to Hammers fell behind in the key matches against Cloud9 and TSM, and I feel like they were more composed. They exhibited that really strong ability to come back. They're definitely playing more polished with decisive shot call, like Jason was saying. And I felt like definitely Jason's presence had made a big impact. And like he said, they have all strong players in all positions. And if you put that together into a team mindset, they accomplish amazing things. And to me, T-Tires is like the key to the team. Like Leon is like the key to Team Secret. He's been an MVP in every team he's been on. For example, he's helped Liberation X win their championships. Every team he's been on has won a championship. Like, for example, he helped Hammers win the VIS championships last season. When he was with Dienzio and Veins, and he's a big reason. He's like the key in Tiggs We Trust, like Jason was saying, or why they're so good, because he's a very smart player. I've been actually his teammate. A lot of people don't know this, but I've been his teammate for a very long time, and we actually were a team, and we were going to compete for this season with Lulu, who was a laner for Phoenix Reborn, and Tigers actually switched to jungle, and I was his roam, and we practiced a lot together. And Tiggs and I would just go into games together and just talk rotations and play jungle and support together and talk about, okay, what should we do here? What's a counter rotation look like? What does the aggressive rotations look like? And he is such a smart player. He's probably the smartest Vainglory player right now. And I said this like a year ago, that if Tiggs spent 100% of his time dedicated full-time to Vainglory, he would probably be the best player in the world, easy. He's also a competitive chess player, if a lot of people don't know that, which lends to his strategy and why him and I got so well together, because he is very strategic and he understands. He's not only skilled in the micro, like the mechanics and all that, but he understands the macro, the big picture, which is lacking in a lot of players, and that's like the overall strategy and the depth of the game. And Tigers is a guy that understands the bigger picture, and he's able to bring that leadership onto his team with his shot calling and stuff like that. So, with starting as such a phenomenal laner, Chicken as an amazing support, it's great to see him shine. Chicken has been on a lot of other teams and have always come short of making it into, and starting too, actually. Both of them has actually come short in placing really well in any competitive team they've been on. And it's great to see that with Tigers, that synergy is there, and they're doing such wonderful things together. So it's awesome to see the team be so successful with the new coach. And, as Hammers always does it, they always are able to find that magic touch to help their teams be as successful as can be in any competitive season.
Yeah, it seems like this last week with Tribe and Tempo Storm and now Hammers, other teams really have to step up their game. I think being complacent and kind of doing your same thing or sticking to the same heroes is really gonna set you back, especially when it shakes up like this every few weeks with the update and new challenger teams possibly coming in or leaving. So it's dangerous out there.
Yeah, it is. That's why you got to stay sharp, and you got to be hungry. You can't settle and be complacent. And when you get complacent, that's when you start, on the downward path.
Jason, going into the next couple weeks, and then the Unified Championships, what's the goals for you and Hammers and just the team? Is it continue to try to secure that first place spot every week? Of course, I guess any team would want that, but
Of course, obviously that's the goal to always come on top, and but we know we're in a very good position where having that bye on the very first weekend of Unified Championships is very important, and we are in the position to control our own destiny, and that's what we want to do, and we're not going to let off the gas right now. We're full throttle right now, and we know that we want this buy, we need this buy. It gives you such a good advantage because all you need to do that first day is sit and watch everybody else's gameplay, and gives us that extra day to game plan and see what's the new sexy thing to do that day, or that week. So it's very important to us. I mean, it'd be awesome to overtake TSM and get first place, but we changed our mentality as far as, we're not going to dwell on the past. We're going to just move on to the present and just take it as is and just move on from there. And so obviously our goal is to win every game, win every match, and get first place. But we're also realistic and understand that now that we are being a successful team and all eyes are on us, there are going to be more. I know that other teams are watching more footage of us, trying to get that edge over us. So the boys understand that just because we got first, I mean, that's awesome. We're super happy about that, but it'd be foolish for us to think that our mission is done. So we are full throttle right now. We're still practicing hard. We're still strategizing on drafts and outcomes and win conditions and all that stuff. So like I said, since I've been brought in, we're definitely more organized, have a game plan, and actually doing our research and homework on the upcoming matches. And like I said, just having a game plan than just going off of, well, we're comfortable with these picks, let's just draft how it goes. And you saw that the first week and maybe a little bit in the second week. And it didn't work out too well for us. Like I said, talent only takes you so far, but a team and preparation will win you championships. So that's our goal, and like I said, we're not taking anybody lightly.
Looking forward to seeing how Hammers performs and all the teams this coming week of the Vainglory8. But that's going to do it for this episode of the Halcyon Report. Guys, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much for having me.
Take care, everybody. Have a good one.